video, we have another Chelsea news video. There's tons that kicked off within the last 24 hours, so, a lot to speak about. And when I mean a lot, there's too much to speak about, to be honest. It could be separated into two videos, but we're going to squeeze it into one. There's an outgoing, there's another here we go. And there's a lot of news on an incoming player that, we all love, so let's just jump straight into it. Beginning with Garnacho. Fabrizio Romano, again, keeps talking about this Garnacho saga for some reason. Seems like it's not going away, so I'm just starting to accept it to an extent. But he says that Garnacho is very keen on the opportunity to play Champions League football at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea will look at the opportunity later in the window if they complete the sales they want. I think the one good thing on Garnacho is that he's been very open to joining Chelsea throughout this entire process. Obviously, rejected moves abroad just to focus on potentially joining Chelsea, not even for sure joining Chelsea. So you can tell he really wants to be here. He's really pushing for the move. And I think Chelsea will go in for him later in this month. Again, it does say later in the window if they complete the sales we want. I expect us to be able to complete those sales. Obviously, we had one that we will talk about later in this video that did leave. And if we get the fee that we're expecting, it's 10 million less than what we want to pay for Garnacho. So really good business by Chelsea on that front. But yeah, he's been very keen. I'm increasingly open to the idea of bringing him in for that price tag. More importantly, I think he'd definitely live up to that price tag because there's not much expectations on a 30 million pound player, if that makes sense. Obviously, the name means more than the price tag. Garnacho is a big name in football, but yeah, if we could get him for 30 million, I'd definitely bring him in and see if he can excel here, because I do think there is a player in there. I just don't know if Manchester United's not the right environment. I don't know if his head's not in the right space, but something's not aligning. But you can see he has technical quality when he does play, to the level that Manchester United fans used to expect from him, but now don't. So yeah, we'll see how this deal progresses, but I do expect Arnacho to become a Chelsea player later in this window, for a cheap deal though. So I wouldn't be too upset if he does get brought in the door for the fee that we all expect Garnacho to be brought in for. And then on this front, you can see the name that's leaving. Armando Bruya to Burnley on a permanent deal that was confirmed yesterday. Follows Mark Guiu and João Felix to Al Nassr. So 3 outgoings. Obviously, Mark Guiu is just a dry loan. So not a permanent deal or anything like that. It's literally just he's headed out to Sunderland for the season, see how he progresses, then come back and be a Chelsea player. But then he says Chelsea won't stop, with Nkunku and Sterling also expected to leave this summer, and Nico Jackson's situation is still open. Xavi, Simmons, and Garnacho are both high on the incomings list, which we know, and we've been linked to for weeks and weeks and weeks. But there is a lot on that first name there, Xavi Simens. So let's just begin. Fabrizio said that Xavi Simens removing Leipzig from his Instagram bio was a message. He wants to go. Personal terms not a problem with Chelsea. The player is now playing his part in the transfer like Hato did with Ajax. We know Hato removed himself from lineups, went to the board and said, hey, I want to leave. I want to go to Chelsea. Please sell me. And that was one of the main caveats for why the deal went through. Andrew Hato is becoming a Chelsea player sometime soon. Will be announced very soon. But yeah, Xavi Simens removed Leipzig from his bio. We know this. But it's a clear message that he does want to go. He wants to leave Leipzig. It's the first sign of him pushing for a move. So, positive for Chelsea on the negotiating front, because obviously now the player is pushing for the move rather than just sitting around and being and not doing much about it and just still training and playing the way he normally would. But more, Fabrizio said that the two highest people from Chelsea and Leipzig are talking. Negotiations advanced internally, which I don't know what that means. But they're waiting for formal steps. It's about the numbers of the deal. He maintains his position. Chelsea wants Siemens, and I expect to go strong for Siemens. So yeah, the two highest people I expect to be, the top man of Red Bull, who I don't know who that is. Maybe it's Jurgen Klopp at this point. I don't really know. And then obviously we have probably Igbali, just because Ali Barat is the one negotiating this deal. But they're talking. We know they've been talking for a decent amount of time. But waiting for formalities, waiting for a formal bid, waiting for a formal acceptance, waiting for Siemens to obviously come and do a medical and sign a contract once that deal is agreed upon. But it seems like it is advancing well. I know it seemed like it was stalling for a little bit, but now it seems like there's a flipped switch a little bit on Siemens. He may be coming in sometime relatively soon. And more. Fabrizio said that Xavi Siemens' position from today is clear. He wants to go, and you'll see also in the next days. And that was very apparent to what has happened today. This was late last night. If you see what's happened today, then you understand why he said this. Again, removing the Instagram, it's a clear transfer message. He wants the Chelsea move. Negotiations are advanced, which we know. More work to get done, but Xavi has 2 years left on his deal and won't extend. So, even then, Leipzig don't have a negotiating standpoint there. That's why I put it up here, is because he only has 2 years left, so they can't really do anything if, or can't reel in any money if Xavi Simmons isn't gonna renew. So, I think he ultimately does become a Chelsea player at some point in the coming days, or coming weeks, I guess. Just because Leipzig really don't have much negotiating power. Player wants to move. He's not going to extend his contract, and he only has 2 years left, and you're going to want to cash in on the player. So I expect Leipzig to do just that, and send him over to Chelsea at some point. Again, more Fabrizio with an exclusive this morning. He said that Xavi Simens did not train with Leipzig on Friday, and he's not expected to be part of the squad today. Obviously, they have a friendly today, but he's not expected to be part of that team. His decision is clearly oriented to Chelsea move after deleting Leipzig from his Instagram bio. Negotiations at advanced stages. Again, we all know this between Chelsea and Leipzig. But yeah, this is obviously when you see the position being clear that he wants to go, and you'll see, and then you see this the next day. It's essentially following up what Fabrizio said, that he's going to act on wanting the move now, and that is why he didn't train, and he's also not being a part of the squad. Same thing goes for Benjamin Šeško. He was not part of the squad, obviously linked with the move to Newcastle and Manchester United, so both players weren't in the team, both players did not train, and both are expected to leave this summer. But yeah, decision clearly warranted. The Chelsea move doesn't seem like any other team is in for Xavi Simens, so, we can expect this deal to advance pretty quickly, I think, at this point, because the player is now pushing for the move. And Philippines, again, said that Xavi Simens will not be in Leipzig squad today for the friendly against Atalanta. From Leipzig, it said that the player is complaining about neck pain. Spicy detail. Yesterday, Xavi Simens deleted RB Leipzig from his Instagram, and today he's suddenly missing with an injury. The signs are becoming clearer and clearer. The player's camp is finally pushing for a move rather than, just sitting around and waiting for the move to happen. They're the ones pushing for the move. They're the ones, wanting to act upon what Chelsea are offering Xavi Simens. Seems like personal terms won't be an issue if the player is pushing for a move there. So, that's a positive sign. But more, Florian Plettenberg said that Xavi Simens is also not in the squad for RB Leipzig's friendly against Atalanta today. His reason, his imminent departure from Leipzig. Chelsea want to close the deal very soon with the new round of talks scheduled, which is pretty interesting because I thought, we wanted to focus on outgoings, but now we want to close the deal very soon. So a little contradictory there, but again, I don't think we're in a position where we need to sell to bring the player in. I think it's just we'd like to sell before we bring the player in. But then again, we did have an outgoing yesterday night, so maybe Chelsea see that on top of the Joao Felix deal and say, hey, that's the money we need for Xavi Simens, let's go on the player, and now this is where we are at. But yeah, Chelsea wants to close the deal very soon, which I think means in the coming week, sometime Saturday now, so I expect by next Saturday this deal to be completed, to be honest, sometime in this week. That's what I would predict, but then again, it could elongate a little bit because we do know Chelsea do want to focus on outgoings just a tad bit. But there's a new round of talks scheduled. I expect there to be advancements in the deal there. Maybe a formality at some point in this week, which will likely be rejected or countered, and then I think the deal will be completed after that. But looks like we're advancing on the deal very well. So no issues on that front at all. It seems like Xavi Simens will become a Chelsea player, and that's why I told everyone to calm down. I know this transfer saga, or if you want to call it that, has been longer than anticipated because we thought it'd be done within a matter of days, but it's just standard negotiating. Obviously, Leipzig aren't the easiest team to negotiate with, so no harm there at all. We're just looking to close a deal. It's going to take a little bit, obviously. It's just standard negotiating. Teams are just conversating upon a fee, trying to agree to that. It's not going to take 2 days, especially when Chelsea are probably lowballing. Leipzig are probably just holding firm to their values, but now I think is when both teams will start to budge and find a compromise somewhere in the middle, and the player will become a Chelsea player sometime soon. But lastly, Fabrizio said that Xavi Simens has no injury or issues. He's out of today's game for clear desire to join Chelsea. He's not even on the bench as revealed in the morning, and the message is clear. Xavi wants to leave. Players camp is pushing for it. We know this. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of movement in the coming days because Chelsea want to close the deal quickly. I think before Benjamin Šeško ultimately goes to Newcastle or Manchester United. But Newcastle placed a bid for 80 million euros, which is what Leipzig are looking for. But it's just up to Benjamin Šeško if he wants to go there or if he wants to go to Manchester United. Um, so we'll see what happens with that in the coming days, because I don't know if that's going to affect the Xavi Simens deal or not. But again, we'll see. And I'll obviously be here to report that to you. But moving on to Drogba, Fabrizio last night on his YouTube said that Drogba was in his medical, or had his medical in London, and everything was complete. The medical went through, everything is fine, and he followed it up this morning saying that Drogba completed his medical and signed a 7-year deal at Chelsea today. So deal is complete. Drogba is a Chelsea player, and we can expect him to likely feature against AC Milan, or is it Bayer Leverkusen first? One of the two. We can expect Drogba to feature there, but he is now a Chelsea player. We're just waiting for the announcement now. So yeah, we'll see that announcement in the coming days. I expect sometime soon, maybe tomorrow even, or Monday. But yeah, everyone's coming back on Monday. Maybe we see the Hato announcement tomorrow. So then, just show training pictures and stuff like that. But Drogba signed his contract today, completed his medical yesterday. He is now a Chelsea player officially. But it's just waiting the announcement by Chelsea's social media. But yeah, that's it on the Drogba front. And then Nkunku. Adamo Lookman has not gone to Inter Milan. Obviously, it is Saturday morning now, or like a Saturday afternoon for most of y'all. So I don't know if Inter Milan are out of that race, but yesterday they contacted the agent of Christopher Nkunku and have started to work on the transfer. Let's see how this evolves, says Matteo Moretto, obviously an Italian source. So yeah, we'll see how this deal develops. Obviously, Adamo Lookman does not seem like he's headed to Inter Milan anymore. It doesn't seem like Atalanta budged on that price. So their alternatives, Christopher Nkunku. I think Christopher Nkunku does end up there. It seems like they're the team with the most concrete interest. And there's more. L'Equipe said that Maresca has not made the departure of Nkunku an obligation. Maresca believes that he can be part of the project. Obviously, looking at the Club World Cup, looked like he was finding his sharpness again and finding his groove, but I do kind of expect him to go. I think that's just, kind of a brief that, you're going to have to pay what we want, because if not, we're going to use the player. But again, I expect Nkunku to go. I don't think there's going to be any troubles with the negotiations. I think, we get around £35 million, and that's pretty much where we stay firm at. And I think, obviously Inter Milan have the money. We showed that they wanted to pay 45 million euros for Adamo Lookman, so I think they'll be able to pay that for Nkunku, which might be a little bit of a concern, but I don't think they'll be too much of a concern. I think Inter Milan will be one of those teams that doesn't mind a wage structure. So yeah, Nkunku is, in my opinion, most likely headed off to Inter Milan, but maybe it doesn't develop the way that we anticipate. But it seems like that's the team with the most concrete interest, in the team that most likely will go in for Christopher Nkunku, because the deal with Adamo Lookman just seems to be off right now. But yeah, moving on to, again, our outgoing from yesterday. Fabrice Hawkins, with the exclusive last night, said that Armando Bruya is set to join Burnley. Agreement reached with Chelsea. The player has given the green light to travel today for the medical. And then more. Fabrizio said that it's over between Armando Bruya and Chelsea. Understand the transfer to Burnley will be a permanent deal. At this time, we were questioning whether it would be a loan or a permanent deal, but Fabrizio clarified it is a permanent deal. Bruya will complete his medical in the next 24 hours and sign a long-term deal with Burnley. Chelsea accepted conditions. Here we go. And then Fabrice, right after that, said that Armando Bruya is already at Burnley. First part of his medical completed. It will be a long-term contract. The striker is leaving Chelsea. Exclusive story confirmed. Moving on, Fabrizio said that Burnley met Chelsea's price valuation for Bruya. We know that, obviously, the Athletic said that we were looking for 25 million for Armando Bruya. I don't think that's the exact amount we got for him, to be honest. I think, probably got somewhere 15 to 20 range, but obviously our valuation is going to be higher than what we actually value the player at. So I think our valuation was, again, around that 15 to 20 million mark. And then obviously we accepted the deal on those conditions rather than 25 million pounds that was set out to be. There's been no official price tag yet, so, interested to see that. There was a little brief from Nassar Kinsella, but he said that sources say the Bruya move could be worth up to 20 million pounds, but the exact price has not been confirmed. So again, we don't know the price, but there's a brief brief price right there. This is the last thing we're talking about in this video, the Bruya transfer. Obviously, wish him well. Been a professional at Chelsea. Came through the youth ranks here, so this is pure profit. So fair play to Chelsea for getting this negotiation through the line. I think we will end up getting 20 million for Armando Bruya. But yeah, obviously, wish injuries weren't a thing, because if they weren't, I expect Bruya would be our um, starting striker right now. I have a feeling if we didn't see him tear his ACL in that friendly against, I think it was Aston Villa. But yeah, it was just unfortunate the way it played out. But obviously gonna wish him the best. Hope his career does succeed. I think Burnley is a decent move for him. I expect him to start over there. Obviously, Zion Fleming is not the greatest striker, so I expect Bruya to be able to get a decent amount of playing time over there. And I think that's what Burnley were looking for in a striker, someone that can play for them, and I think Bruya can do that. So yeah, wish him well. Obviously, hope he doesn't score against Chelsea or anything like that. But 20 million pounds, hopefully. Don't know if that's the true amount. It could be a little more, a little less. We don't really know. But yeah, wish him well. And that is again the last thing on this video. So if you did enjoy, please be sure to like, subscribe. Thank y'all so much for watching. Thank y'all so much for the support. And as always, it's Repulse, and I'm out. Peace.